Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Becoming CEO AF podcast. I am your host, Kimba Garcia.
I'm your co-host, Amanda Bell.
And we are here with our good friend, JD Delafuente. How'd I do, JD?
Hey, that was perfect. I would say...
I crushed it!
You actually did crush that.
Thank you.
I was worried about it.
I was too. So for the listeners out there, I had to practice his name 4 times before we went live because I guess I'm white girl AF. That's what he told me. I don't know.
I was like, that was pretty good for a white girl.
Yeah.
I am a Garcia.
So I said, I was like, you're married to a Hispanic dude. I mean, Garcia's got to be, right?
He's super white, though. He doesn't speak any Spanish. Like, his grandma doesn't make tamales. Like, there's nothing. Yeah. It's just a last name for me.
That's everybody tells me. They're like, you're the whitest Mexican that I know. I'm like,
So do you make tamales?
no, we buy them though.
Same.
We
Got a
eat
freezer
them.
full myself.
Yep. Same.
And welcome to Texas, folks.
Yeah.
So we're super excited. One of the reasons why we asked JD to be on the podcast with us today is because, honestly, JD, you just have a killer mindset, like every day.
Oh man, thank you.
Every day. You and your wife both. So I was sharing with Amanda that you guys really seem to not only both individually have super killer mindsets and be crushing at your business, but it seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, and hopefully she doesn't care if we share, but it seems like it really runs in synergy. Like you guys really stay at the same level at the same time with your mindset. So it's not only impressive to me that you have a killer mindset, but it's super cool to me that your marriage seems to almost be founded on a mutual killer mindset.
Yeah, whoa, man, that's deep. It literally gives me the full body chills because it's so true. She does carry a lot of great energy. I carry a ton of energy that's a lot of loud energy, and she's actually the total opposite of me, very quiet, and she kind of keeps me grounded. So we balance each other well, I'd say.
That's super awesome.
Yeah.
So tell the listeners what you guys do.
Whoa, hey listeners, what's up?
Yeah.
So here's what we do. We do, I like to say we do everything real estate. We're real estate problem solvers. So if you have a real estate problem, we'll dissolve them, you know? Like you guys, he's like, if you got a problem, I'll solve them. Check out the hood. Why? We dissolve them. Yeah, so that's
That is so much fun. I feel like we need to add that into a quick snippet on social media that you can use in your pictures and videos with the houses. Like, look at this one I solved.
Yeah, and you're
DJ?
on the turntables.
Yeah.
Dude, it's fun. I love real estate, and I love the people that we get to meet. So we just, that's a very hard question. People are always like, well, what do you do in real estate? I'm like, I do whatever it takes. I do,
I love that.
Whatever you bring to me, real estate, we're going to figure it out. Maybe I'm not the source for it, but we got the connections that'll make it happen.
Yeah.
To answer that question, we do traditional real estate, buying and selling, friends and family that turn into family.
Mm-hmm.
We do a lot of investments. We do flips. We do rentals, long-term holds. Those are the source of income things that we do. We do a lot of try to do charity stuff. I love, as well as both of you guys know, I love mindset and, motivation. So I really love doing vision board parties.
Cool. I want to come to a vision board party.
Come on. We're doing one January 9th right there in Lake Worth. So
I will be there.
come on with it. Yeah. So, just everything real estate.
I love it. Well, let's dive into some of the mindset stuff then.
Come on.
Yeah, do you ever remember a pivotal moment, JD, where you went from, hey, I'm just this everyday guy living life, to recognizing that you're being or acting or responding to things a different way?
Man, chills again. This is crazy. Yes, I have it written in a journal. It was May 17th of 2017, I think. And that was the year. And I remember writing that day that my life would never be the same from that day on moving forward, and that the best was yet to be. It was just a trigger for me. I know that sounds crazy, but I remember it, that was the moment that literally changed my life because my mindset just went, whew, and I knew that from that moment, everything was going to be great, everything was going to be better, and I knew at that moment where I was going and where I saw myself in the future.
Dude, that is so cool. That is so cool because I can relate.
That's
Is
awesome.
the biggest thing. And it's crazy is you get to see that like multiple times throughout your life, I feel like. So you saw one version of you. I can't wait till you see the next.
It's always on the up, and it's so crazy because I was talking about that a little bit last night. They were talking about how do you not go back to the old you at that event that I was at last night. How do you not relapse, right, and go back to the old you? And I'm like, man, once you truly just like put things down and you understand that life is good and possibilities are out there and opportunities are real, it doesn't really make sense to like pick the shit back up again.
Sure.
So you do have that feeling where you're just like, from this moment on, I'm a completely different person, because once you have the God's eye view on your own life and you start living from a place of your own awareness, right, and you realize that you're not your body or your emotions or even your thoughts, you're the awareness that controls all that shit. It's like, how do you go back to being back down in the trenches and living in pain and carrying around this shit? Now, of course, we're still human, right? And how do you deal with those days where like it gets a little bit hard and you still have to plug into and like still keep that commitment to yourself? I'm never going to go back to the old me. So what do I do in this moment when humanity happens?
Man, and it does. It happens, and it happens frequently.
Yeah.
I'd like to say it happens when you. I feel like there's days you wake up and you just don't. You don't want to do the do's. You know what you need to do, but there's something kind of pulling you back. Into bed and hitting the snooze button. I think that when I get up in the morning and I have days like that, I put myself back in a position where I was in a point in my life where I really hated what I was doing and hated the things about my life, and I think I could be doing that still.
Yeah.
That could still be my life. And if I really want what I say I want, then I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna do what I gotta do. You know what I mean? That really gets me going.
Yeah.
I think thinking back on where you were, and I just had this conversation with a friend yesterday that talked about, he's like, well, yeah, and I don't want to say what it was we were doing, but because he's not doing what I was doing in the same craft, but he said the exact same thing. He goes, dude, every day's a good day. He's like, I sleep in my own bed at night.
Yeah.
He's like, I wake up and I do what I want to do. He's like, so for me, days that I'm like, I just don't want to do this, I think about where I came from, what I was doing then, and I put myself back in them shoes and say, I ain't going back to that. I know where I'm going,
I love that, because so often I always say there's two kinds of motivation, right? We can either be motivated away from pain or we can be motivated towards the pleasure, and in your case, it's almost both. It's like you always think back to, oh shit.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, still suck that.
Yeah, I hardly ever think of that. But if it's that bad where I'm just like, man, 3 days in a row, I'm just like, really down? Okay, how down really are you? Do you want to go back to that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that, because that's kind of that shot. Like sometimes when we're motivated away from pain, it is a little bit stronger than going towards pleasure, because you'll run away from something that hurts. But if you're going towards something you want, you got a little bit more time to get there. You know what I mean? Like nothing's running behind you trying to eat you.
Okay.
So if you want to walk today, walk. If you want to skip, skip. Like there's nothing that keeps you just running full sprint towards your pleasure. So sometimes you do have to go back to that motivation of the pain to kick yourself back in the ass to get back to remind yourself to keep sprinting forward towards what you're still working for. So I love that.
Yeah. And to fall back on the pain and pleasure part, like if you're running from the pain of not wanting to go back there, you can also find the pleasure of that next phase of what motivated you before. So you remember on May 17th, 2017, that you had that pivotal moment when I knew I had to speed race full speed ahead to get to here, because now I'm excited to be there and I'm ready to get there. And so now you get to recreate a whole nother version of you at that next level that you get to see. And guess what? You get to sprint there, because now you're excited all over again. And so that past pain, you're like, oh yeah, screw this. This level is about to be my new past pain.
Yeah, I always tell people that. I'm like, if, and you've probably heard it a million times, maybe said it a different way, but it's like, when you feel like giving up and you feel defeated, just always remember why you started. And I put myself in that mindset too. It's like, and getting back to that point, it's like, that's why you started. Because you didn't like what you were doing. But you know that if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to stay there. And at the end of the day, it's like, man, I don't want to do that. So here's the direction I'm going. Let's rock and roll.
Boom.
So what was it about May 17th?
Oh man, that's another. It was, I don't know. It's just stuck in my head because I just found my journal. We just moved a couple months ago, and I was going through all of our stuff, and I found it in an old journal, and I was just like, oh my gosh, it was on this, and I remember writing it, but I hadn't seen it in a long time.
Yeah.
And I pulled that thing out of our garage in one of our boxes, and I read that sitting on our patio, and I was like, wow, dude, like literally just brings me all the feels, like it'll bring you to tears. Brings me to tears because I know where I was at mentally in my life at that point. And it was just, for me at that point in my life, I had got into some health, it was like a health kick, network marketing thing. And it was actually developing my mind in a different way that I, more than just supplements that I was taking, it was actually changing my mindset into, like the business side of things, the helping people side of things, the learning that there's so much more out there that you don't even know of, kind of things that you're like, that really is what changed my life, and it sounds crazy that people are like, oh, well, supplements change your life. It wasn't just the supplements. It was what came with it. It was the mindset change. It was the people I was surrounded by. It was the growth that I saw in others. Like, man, these dudes came from nowhere. They came up, and now look at them. That could be me.
Yeah.
Why can't that be me? And
That's exactly right.
that's what really changed my life. I was like, I want more.
That is the most important thing that I think people can even. So I just got certified in NLP, right, which talks about the language and language patterns. And I think what you just said is, like, if you can just take one thing and instantly implement it from listening to this podcast to change your life, it's stop asking why, well, that can't be me, and start asking yourself, or who am I to do that, right? Who would I be to have a successful business? Who am I to have a great marriage? I don't deserve these things. And then start saying, who am I to not do any of that shit? Really? I mean, other normal people do it. Other normal people are crushing it. Other people change their mindset. And on that last thing I wanted to say, first of all, your mindset really does change. You actually have 100,000 chemical reactions in your brain happen every second. 100,000 chemical reactions.
Is a shit ton.
A shit ton, girl. So you think about the more times that we give ourselves intentional serotonin, and that's the 100,000 chemical reactions that start pumping to your brain literally does change.
Absolutely.
I can feel it happening right now.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that sounds crazy, but like you're living in the actual moment and having conversations like these. It literally, it changes your mind. Like, it's changing my mindset as we speak. Does that blow your mind?
It doesn't, because it's science. So every time you have a thought, the neurons fire, right? So that's where the saying comes from, what fires together wires together. That's why people who are struggling with depression also get in those ruts of depression, because every time that cortisol hits, that stress, that's 100,000 chemical reactions. What are yours? You have to be intentional about those,
Yeah.
And that's why we see people go from being a little bit sad over something that happened today, and then they dwell on that tomorrow, and they dwell on it next week. And it's interesting, 85% of the thoughts your average person has are the same thoughts they had yesterday.
Oh, boom.
So think about how we're just firing and wiring and firing and wiring, and whatever you're thinking about, baby, you're firing and wiring and firing. So by the time that it's been from 2017 to 2022, that's not even, your chemicals are completely different by now, right? And you're able to be a completely different person. And that's true for every single human brain out there. There's not one person out there that's not true, accurate, and that won't work for.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. I was just telling Kimba, I heard, gosh, it must have been about 2 weeks ago now. I heard maybe a podcast or something, and the guy was talking about how, you've got two halves of your brain. That's a win-win, right? Cool. And he was like, no. He's like, you've got the negative side and you've got the positive side, and you've got a team leader on both of those sides. And guess what? You are the boss of both of those team leaders. Mm-hmm. So guess what? If you wake up in the morning and you start telling yourself, oh gosh, I don't want to do this. Oh, today it's going to be horrible. Oh, I missed my 3 alarms. Oh, I didn't even get my workout in. Like, if you start already telling that, you're telling negative team lead to stand up and take control. This day has to suck. And then you're going to do it for a week, you said? 2 weeks? Like, you're going to keep reliving that shitty day for 2 weeks? No, man, you're the boss of Mr. Negative Team Lead. He needs to sit the fuck down, okay? Needs to
Excuse
sit
me,
down.
folks, you are CELAF and you do run
Of
your
your
brain.
life. So
okay?
guess what? You need to tell Mr. Positive Team Lead to stand up. We need to crush
Love it.
today. And I need to crush all of today. And so anything you
Yep.
throw at me, I'm going to be super grateful to take that problem or great blessing and run with it. Just run with it. And it sounds like you figured out how to do that, which is the coolest part of it all. And you figured out how to do it in a partnership, which a lot of people I think lack. You know, Chris and I are not always on the same mindset.
Same.
Same. No, totally same. Like there's, it's a balance, you know? I mean, what I can bring to the table, she can't, and what she can bring to the table, I can't. You know? So it's just like it's the best form of balance that I could ever feel in life
Yeah.
is with
Which is
her.
beautiful.
Because it's
Yeah.
just, man, it's just, I could never mother our children the way that she can do it. You know?
Sure.
And I think about, you know, and then she'll tell me that, well, I can never run a business the way that you can. You know, so and that's okay, you know, like everybody's gonna have their strong
I
points.
saw your post about that the other day, or you kind of touched on it in your post the other day
Yeah.
about that she was almost feeling like that. What did you say that when? Because y'all went out to.
Yeah, we had a business meeting. We had a scheduled
Yes.
business meeting. I was like, you know what? You and I are gonna schedule a meeting for our business, and we're gonna time block this time, and that's what we did. So we sit down, and you know, we're reflecting on the year. You know, talking about our strong points for the year. You know, maybe our low points. You know, where did we really excel? Where did we not? What did we really love? What did we not? And that's kind of where I totally did post about that on
Yeah.
I like to journal on Facebook. Everybody's like,
I
oh,
understand.
all your business is out there. I'm like, I don't care. I look back on it in a year and go, man, look at what I did then.
Yeah.
I also journal on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I'll reshare old Amanda Bell. Like, look at Amanda Bell
Yeah,
5
look-
years ago. That's kind of funny.
It's awesome. It's awesome to see. To me, it's growth. You know, it's constant growth. You know.
Yeah, and you're tracking it, which does matter.
So much fun.
I love it. I want to ask you, JD. Okay, so you got to this place where you figured it out. You're like, all right, so I'm actually driving the bus. We don't have to like hit every single guardrail because I can drive this thing and I can keep shit straight, right? So how are you able to take that and then apply it to business and really start growing your family financially in the business aspect and being able to get that time freedom and control your finances and be able to take it from a mindset to something that's like tangible at the bank?
So I think we always like to look at things as working backwards. It's kind of like when you flip a house. You know, you look at what the end value is and you kind of work backwards.
Yep.
I like to think about our goals and our visions the same way. You know, you like when you actually write those things down and you're like, this is what we really want. Okay, cool. That's great. Oh, we all know what we want, right?
Yep.
That's great. But how do we get there? And then your action planning to what it's going to take to get here. And I feel like that's what really started setting us up for success, for our businesses, for our family, for, you know, financially, spiritually, our health. I mean, health is a really hard one because sometimes we neglect those things. But when you know what you really want and you're looking at that every single day and you've created a plan on how to get there, that's how things started happening for us. And we made vision boards. We've always been goal oriented, and I was working for the railway. I did that for 15 years.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, sweet.
I didn't know
All
that.
those trains that block you right there on
Yeah.
Saginaw, Maine.
We're cussing JD.
Yeah. Cussing the old JD.
Good
So I-
point.
JD of the past.
I was a locomotive engineer there and I like to say I worked there for 15 years, and we were planning an exit strategy away from the railway because I knew it wasn't the end for me. You know, you always
Sure.
know that there's more.
Yeah.
And at some point in your life, you realize that you're going to keep doing what you do until you don't do what you do to do something else.
Right.
And so we had created a plan. It's like the 5-year plan was to become financially stable away from the railroad income. And that seemed like a really big plan, you know, and a really big goal.
Yeah.
But when you start working at it and the 5-year plan actually starts shrinking, you're like, wow, I could maybe be there in 3 now. And then you're like, wow, I can maybe be there in 2. And then it kind of just dwindles down to like, your wife wants to put in your 2-week notice and your resignation letter. She's like, you're done. And I'm like, oh, it happened. It happened. and that's how I feel. Those things become attainable is just by writing it down.
Yeah, so it's Amanda, you're huge on vision boards too, right?
Dude, I love them. So almost everything JD was saying, how he works backwards and blah, blah, blah. I'm sitting here like, that's my every morning. I work every situation from where I want it to be backwards, because the only way I'm going to get there is by figuring out how to get there, right? And I usually give myself 3 options on each. And one of them
I
is,
love that, Amanda.
yeah, one of them is delegation. But at the end of the day, the destination's always the same. It's which route do I want to take? How quick do I want to get there? Yeah.
So it's reverse engineering the plan.
It
Where
is.
are we going? Reverse engineering the plan. And then the only thing that I can really add to that, because it's so true, is, you know, sometimes when we make that goal, it does seem so big. It's like, I need to get away from my job, or I want this car, I want this house, or whatever the case may be. It always feels really big. But that's why it's important to do that reverse engineering step and break it down into the chunk sizes. Because when you break it down into those chunk sizes, it's like once you start walking, once you put one foot in front of the other, you look up and you've gone really far, you know?
Yeah.
And dealing with business owners and working with business owners, especially since starting CEIF a year ago, that's one of the things I'm finding myself spending the most time doing is I'm like, hey, so you have this idea, and I understand that you want everything to be perfect, and I understand that, so there's the planning, but there's also, like, you do have to move.
Yeah.
You know, it's great to create the vision board, reverse engineer the plan, but then you have to execute on the plan. And I think that's really the only, so you have your mindset, you have your vision, reverse engineer the plan, and then execute. It's actually not that, like, it's not rocket science, you know, and that's what I love about it, is I'm like, man, this stuff is really simple.
Yeah, but it's very easy to get burned out, like you were talking about earlier. And so when you get burned out, what are you doing to regroup, man? Do you have a coach that's making you regroup? Do you have yourself who says, you know what, I need to rest? And what does that kind of rest time frame look like? Is it a chunk? Is it pieces throughout the day, Kimba?
What do you do? What do you do, JD? The burnout.
You just ran. You got up at 5 a.m. so you can knock out some
And
paperwork.
for context, I don't know if some of the people listening on the podcast may not be able to see JD's hat, but he
is super festive.
He has been having this whole ass serious conversation in this Santa hat with the puffball on top of it. And I just love him for that. I feel like it was very important that people need to know that. But we are here in December, is my point. So next week is actually Christmas. And this is the time of the year, right, when a lot of, especially entrepreneurs, but almost everybody, just gets to that place where it's like, I'm tired. Like, I am burned out. We're almost like, we want to enjoy the holidays, but get Christmas over with, and we just want to nap. You know?
Yeah. We're already working in 2022. You know what I mean? Like, we're already working in 2022.
I'm already
It's there.
Yeah.
So we're like, what is all this? In 2021, you're done. Go. Leave me alone.
That's a very hard place, because I know you guys are in the same, you know, mindset. It's just like, man, we're already thinking about 22. So I've already tried to, and I've tried to slow down a little bit, because I know I need to enjoy these moments with my family and my kids and my wife and you know, and just like really enjoy. So I'm trying to, like, you got to keep doing what you do. I'm like, it's like the underground work. You're like, I got to get up an hour earlier maybe, but I'll be damned if I'm not going to continue to be there today. I just got done doing Christmas carols with my kids. That's why I had this on.
Oh, I love
so
it.
My dad and I were up there. We did for both of their classes, and got up there.
Dad did it with you?
Yeah.
Gosh,
For the
I
whole
love you guys.
Dude, it was awesome. So my dad used to come to my school whenever I was their age and do Christmas carols for the kids. And he was like, we should do Christmas carols for the kids. I was like, kidding me? Let's go. So yeah,
his heart was full, your heart was full, your kids' hearts were full. Like, I think that's so beautiful, JD.
It was a good feeling. And then I got to come here and hang out with you guys. I was like, man, I'm high on life, dude. Like, life is good, and man, I'm right where I need to be.
So is that how you feel like you kind of stay, because you're right, we kind of like slow down towards this time of the year and have to be more intentional with just enjoying the moment, enjoying the holidays, enjoying the family, when our mind is really like, I'm already halfway through Q1.
Yeah, I know what's about to happen.
Yeah, and I'm pumped and I'm on fire, but I know we're going to like carol and do this shit first, and I love this too. This is also great.
Yeah, so I got up an hour earlier because I knew what my day was going to look like.
To do the underground work.
Yeah, I had to do the underground
So Amanda and I love this too, and I actually love that we got on this conversation, because I usually call this the boss lady thing, but now we know that that's not 100% accurate. Maybe it's just the boss thing. But you have, Amanda and I are big time, like, get up in the morning, like, hair still a mess, still in your jammies, like, you get the coffee, you bust out the laptop, still in bed, or you're working in the hot tub in the morning, whatever the case is. But that's where my mind went when you talk about the underground work, because it's like when people think we're still sleeping.
Yeah.
We're in the hot tub, and I literally started sharing that on social media recently because I used to never share it because it just wasn't something you did. And then I realized, you know what, if you're going to help people or show people the way that we learned before all this technology, and you could have like Warren Buffett in your left ear on TikTok for 30 seconds, we had to go figure out what Warren Buffett was doing to be where he's at and watch him and read his books and listen to him in other areas. We didn't have these quick snippets of electronic and technology pieces thrown at us. So then I was like, Amanda, why aren't you sharing that with everybody else so that they can see what you are doing? So they know just in fact you're not asleep. Like you are doing things. And literally I have people every day on Facebook in my messages, what are you doing in the hot tub this early? Wait, what are you up this early for? And it's like, I had to, And this is the only way I can enjoy that up this early knocking out work is this hot tub. So let me be.
I love it. I love it. That, you know what? It's a good point. I think I'm gonna.
You want a hot tub?
No, I have a hot tub. I'm gonna start doing that.
Getting in the hot tub, JD.
Oh, sunrise with coffee and your work and the hot
You're
tub.
smiling.
You got the bubbles on.
Dude, I can get down with that. Yeah.
You're smiling the entire time you're getting shit
So
done.
if anybody takes anything from this podcast, it would be you need to purchase a hot tub.
Yeah.
Also, they're unavailable right now.
So unavailable.
Good.
I bought so I walked in, we got ours, quick story, we got ours at the hot tub convention. So they had a hot tub convention at the Will Rogers Coliseum, right? I'm like, Rob, you're going to get a hot tub. In my mind, I'm just going to be super transparent here. In my mind, I was going to go in and spend $7,000 and I was going to buy a hot tub.
Oh.
So I walk in there, and first of all, every hot tub says, sold, 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 sold. So I was like, well, surely those are just the floor models. They got some in the back or something. So the guy walks up, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to buy a hot tub. Can you show me a couple of them? And he goes, nope, that's the only one we have available right there. And he points to my literal hot tub that you see on my stories. And I'm like, well, this is not the one I want, sir. This one's bigger than I want. This one's deeper than I want. How much is it? And he's like, it's $14,500. And I'm like, it's double what I want. Like, I don't want this hot tub. And he goes, well, man, just so you know, it is the only literal one in the U.S. right now. And I said, well, hell, I'll take it. Send the hot tub to my house.
What are you going to do, you know?
Yeah, I was just like, but no, I'm big on the hot tub investment for sure.
Even when we Airbnb, I have to have the hot tub in there. Like, I'll only look at those homes that have the hot tub.
Robbie just apologized because I think it's Utah that he was like, I can't find one with a hot tub. And I'm like, it's Utah. What do they do there? It's cold.
Is it mid-January? Is that the mid-January? Yeah. Oh, gosh. We're going to have to buy
You're going with me. Yeah, you'll be on that trip, Amanda Bell. So, yeah, we may not have a hot tub is the thing. I love that, JD. So you're always just pushing back into, I'm going to enjoy this time. I'm going to be intentional about this time. And that kind of gets you through the burnout, we'll call it.
Man,
yeah?
well.
And Christmas caroling.
Yeah.
I think it's the Christmas caroling.
It's music does a lot for me. I've been playing music since I was 3 or 4.
Oh, cool.
And I'm a musician by heart, you know?
Yeah.
And so that really does a lot for me too. Just music. It's in my office. I'll pick it up and I'll play some tunes. And then I'll just hammer out more work. And then I'm just getting crazy and I'll pick up my guitar again. Do that.
So I have to just highlight, because what he does, like what you do in that moment is the same thing that we do, and it's the same thing I talked to somebody about yet. So yesterday I was at an event. Somebody's like, how do you get through the burnout? You know, and as contractor, I'm a roofing contractor, right? So as contractors, we run. And this year, like we've been going since February. February, ice storm, hailstorm, hurricane. It's been wild, right? So it's like, go. What do you do? And I stopped and I said, man, I take my time every day. I don't have to go like 9 hard months and then I don't need a month-long vacation, because I take that time every morning. It's that 30 minutes, that time for you when you pick up your guitar. This is my time. Mm-hmm. That's, to me, what prevents the burnout. It's that 30 minutes a day of yoga. It's that 10-minute meditation. It's that 20 minutes in the hot tub before you kick off your day, just slamming your coffee, knocking out your emails. To me, that's what really prevents the burnout, is understanding that, let's go back to it, it's about balance, folks. Right. It's about balancing every day of your life.
Yep.
And intentionally living every day of your life. So, boom, I love that.
I do too.
And there was something else to touch on about the burnout, because I did have that happen recently, and it was to a point. Do we need to get off? We got time?
No, go. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was like really just getting overwhelmed with a lot of different things, you know? So your goals can change at times. You know, your visions also will change. Maybe this was your vision and then you were like really chasing that vision and then you got halfway down the runway and then you realized maybe this really wasn't what I thought it was, or maybe this really isn't my end goal vision. And you know, those
And
things
even the market changes or the situation changes with opportunity. Yeah.
And then, but it took me burning out a couple of months ago to realize that I actually wasn't following what my true goals and visions were. You know, I was doing something different, and it sounds like, man, this is really a great opportunity. Like, let's do this. And then you get to a point where you're like, man, I'm really not doing what I want to do.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not really chasing the visions and goals that I had originally written 5 years ago whenever I was leaving the railway. I'm doing something different, and sometimes we get off track, and that can really burn you out because you're not doing what you're really set your mind out to originally. So I think it's great to revisit those visions and goals very, very, very frequently because you can avoid burning out.
Yeah, and
Do what you love.
And sometimes letting the change, flow with the change. You know, if I revisit my board, because I've got this dry erase board, and I know Kimba does too, that sits in my house, and sometimes it's beside my bed when I wake up, this huge dry
The
erase
truth is we
board.
both have 4 dry erase boards in each of our homes.
Same. I got, dude. Look, can my wife even do her hair in our mirror? It's like written all over. It's like just written down, and then
Both mirrors, bedroom mirror, bathroom mirror. All my boards in the home. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Yep, you need it.
yeah.
And the house cleaners keep wiping it off, and I'm like, I'm about to pull my mom and use the lipstick. Man, that's hard to wipe off. Don't touch that. Those are detailed notes of where I'm going.
I love it.
So, but yeah, go with the flow because I catch myself doing the same thing, JD. I'm like, I'll go back and I'll revisit that board and I'm like, that was off, that hit, that excelled, this was here. And then, yeah, and you get to go redo it and like create it the way you want it done because it's your life. And there was no right or wrong direction to go. You just needed to go.
Right. We just had hosted a vision board party for some lenders and a high producing team here in Fort Worth. My wife and I, Shayla, we got to go to their office and sit down with them and talk to them about how do we create our visions, what are they, why do we use vision boards, that they're not just like art we just put here, that there's actually reasons behind. And one of the crazy questions from one of the ladies there was, what happens if my vision changes? And I'm like, that's awesome. That's great. Like, you know,
cut out a new picture from the magazine, ma'am, a little Elmer's glue, and just right over it.
We can have like as many vision boards as we want. Like that's the fun part. This is a piece of the huge puzzle that you're building. Like,
so she has this married couple right there, him and her. I was like, all you do is you just cut him right out. Get him out of there. No, that really wasn't what it was. But,
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, I'm like, they're gonna change, you know, all the time.
I love both sides of this. I love being open to the flow and open to the journey. I also love revisiting and making sure that you're aligning with what you originally started to do. And quickly, you know, for me, we got like that in storm restoration. We were like, oh, there's a hurricane over here. There's a hailstorm over here. We went to St. Louis for a hailstorm this year. That did not go well for me. Yeah, it's real funny. Everyone laughed in the background. It's real funny. Lost a ton of money. Terrible situation. Also ran out to a hurricane. Right, so we're out of state, I'm missing my kids, I'm gone. The truth is, RKG started to keep my family under one roof. RKG started because Robbie was on the road all the time, and our kids did not have daddy home except for 1 week out of the year, and I found myself running and gunning and traveling. And I looked up at Robbie and I said, Robbie, we're going the wrong way. We're going the wrong way. We do need to be growing our business, and we do need to be intentional about growth, but we also have to be intentional about what we started. So the plans changed and the plans grew, but I did decline an event that I had because I didn't want to fly out on the week that I had my kids. Now for us, we're a blended family, so it's week on, week off, and I'm grateful for our situation because I do have that week to just run hard. But if something falls on my week where I have my kids, that I do have to hold back to that, like dig that back out, right? Why did I even start this to begin with? And the truth is to keep my family under one roof. And for me, it's important that I do grow and that I do change and that I do flow, but that I stay so grounded to that, because that's why we started the company to begin with.
Man, ooh, that's deep right there. Family. That was a big thing of the discussion that Shayla and I had the other day, and it was on that post. It's like we visited the things that we wanted the most, and a lot of those things were all rooting back to our family.
Yeah.
It's like, man, that's like, and you know, you got to follow one thing, and if you don't, you're not following anything. Anybody out there that's listening, if you got to follow at least one thing, follow your heart, because your heart will never, ever, ever lie to you. And I was just thinking, man, our family is the same. You know, it's the same thing. It's like, man, so we're not going to get into next year and what our future plans are, although I'm going to share them with you guys. But next
So
year,
excited.
We'll do that at lunch.
yeah, next year is going to be family, and it's going to be all about building with our families and just plugging our family in. If we're going to spend time with people,
I have family coaching night with my kids tonight.
come
I'm
on,
pumped
Yeah.
about it.
dude, that's awesome.
I'm pumped. Guys, this was a great chat. Thank you so much for being here, JD. This is super fun. And for anybody listening that's just kind of going through, I don't know if this podcast will be out at the end of the year or the beginning of the year, but both times of those seasons, we kind of run into burnout. And this podcast really, if you just take this, everything that you just learned and just map it out, reverse engineer your plans, like you're going to get so far in 2022. So I appreciate you sharing with us, JD, your story, where you came from, how, because I just see all your content. You guys go, tell them your name. I'm unpracticed now. Tell them your name and how to find you, because y'all have to go follow JD. He is, absolutely puts out high energy content. I love seeing his stuff come across my news feed. It's always energetic, it's always positive, it's always motivational, and you do have a beautiful wife, adorable children, so it's a fun family to follow. Will you tell them where to go?
Yeah, follow me at JD Delafuente on Facebook and JD Delafuente TX Realtor on Instagram, and those are pretty much the two sources. I do have TikTok, but still figuring that out. So bear with me
Because
on
we're
that.
kind of old.
Just actually, I have no friends, so if you want to find me on TikTok, yeah, do that. That'd probably be the best bet.
I'll be your friend. I'll be your follower. I'll follow you today.
Yeah, thanks. Man. Well, before we get off, I do have something for you guys. I gotta
Go.
share.
Yeah.
It's the hat. It's the hat.
Ah, I wish it was the hat. No, actually, I picked these up. I was like, dude, I thought about you guys.
Oh my gosh. I love you.
How do you like that?
I love these.
Merry Christmas, Alice.
Yeah,
They're unicorns.
dude, they're
If
unicorn
y'all
socks.
can't see Amanda and I sliding across, we can't slide across the tile because they have traction.
Put them on upside down because we get to make that choice.
Okay.
That's a good idea. I like it.
You can make a choice. Do you want traction today on your socks or not?
You just
Do you want to
slip around.
slide across the tile? You get to choose today, folks. Thank you so much for listening to the Becoming CEO AF podcast. Please make sure and share this with your friends. Subscribe to our podcast. That's how this is going to continue to grow, and we can continue to leave massive impact. Help business owners go from being in the trenches, getting over this mindset thing, getting over the burnout thing, to not only becoming the CEO of their company, but of their entire life. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
See ya.